At a luxury hotel in downtown Chicago, a Russian billionaire arrives to finalize a $500 million deal, but the translator never shows up. The staff panics. The meeting is collapsing, and just as the billionaire prepares to leave, a quiet housekeeper named Elena Brooks steps forward and says, "I can help. I speak Russian." The hotel manager laughs, humiliates her in front of everyone, refusing to let a cleaning woman embarrass the brand. But what she doesn't know is that Elena isn't just a cleaner. She's a Columbia graduate who speaks 6 languages, and before the day is over, she'll save the entire company. Before we begin the story, take a moment and tell us, where are you watching from? It had started like any other morning at the Hamilton Grand. The lobby shimmered with gold light from the chandeliers, polished marble floors gleaming like mirrors. Businessmen in tailored suits rushed past with phones pressed to their ears. Elena moved quietly among them, pushing her cleaning cart, her gray uniform crisp but unremarkable. To most guests, she was invisible, another piece of the hotel furniture that somehow moved on its own. But beneath the calm surface, Elena's mind was alive and alert. Every word around her, English, French, Spanish, she understood. By 6 a.m., she had already been working for 2 hours, her motions careful and precise. Cleaning wasn't her dream, but it paid for her mother's medicine and kept a roof over their heads. 3 years earlier, she had worn a college graduation gown instead of this uniform. Now she scrubbed glass tables while the world talked about mergers and markets she used to study. "Brooks," the voice sliced through the hum of the lobby. Ms. Collins, the hotel's operations director, approached with sharp heels and sharper eyes. Her blonde hair was coiled tight, her tone tighter. "You missed a spot on the marble. And for heaven's sake, move faster. VIPs will be here soon," Elena straightened. "Yes, ma'am. I'll make sure it's spotless." "See that you do." Collins smirked, then added, "And stay out of sight when our guests arrive. Important people don't like distractions." Elena nodded, saying nothing. She had heard it all before, the subtle insults, the not-so-subtle ones, the ones that reminded her she was good enough to clean the room but not to be seen in it. When Collins walked away, Elena exhaled slowly, steadying her hands. She'd learned not to react. Anger never paid the bills. "Morning, sunshine," came a low voice from behind her. It was Earl Washington, the night security supervisor, a kind, gray-haired man who treated her like family. He leaned on his radio and gave her a knowing look. "She give you the business again?" Elena smiled faintly. "Same script, different day." Earl shook his head. "That woman's got no clue who she's talking to. I've seen the way you listen when folks start talking in foreign tongues. You ain't just a cleaner." Elena's heart warmed at his quiet faith. "Some stories are too long to tell," she said. "Maybe," he replied. "But some stories ain't finished yet." Before she could answer, the elevator chimed. Mr. Hughes, the hotel's general manager, stepped out in a tailored suit, trailed by Ms. Collins. Their hushed voices carried urgency. "The investor arrives at 9, Hughes said. "If this meeting fails, corporate will shut us down." "I've got everything under control," Collins replied, though her voice trembled slightly. "Once the translator gets here, we'll—" Elena's head lifted. "Translator?" Hughes continued. "This isn't just any investor. Mr. Anton Volkov controls the largest energy firm in Eastern Europe. If we land this partnership, we're talking hundreds of millions." Volkov. The name stirred a memory. Late nights in her college library reading about global energy markets. He was a legend in international business circles, known for his power and precision, and now he was coming here, to the very lobby Elena scrubbed every morning. By 8:30, the hotel buzzed like a beehive. Staff checked flower arrangements, tested microphones, and polished every inch of marble until it shone. Collins moved through it all like a general before battle, barking orders at everyone in sight. Elena stayed quiet, wiping down the last table near the entrance. Through the glass doors, she could already see the first black SUVs pulling up. She didn't know yet that within the next hour, all her years of silence, every moment she had swallowed her pride, would come crashing to a single choice: speak up, or disappear forever. At exactly 9 o'clock, the doors of the Hamilton Grand spun open, and the world seemed to hold its breath. First came the security team, tall men in dark suits, earpieces gleaming under the chandelier light. Then, a compact man with silver hair and an expression carved from ice stepped inside. Anton Volkov. The Russian tycoon moved with quiet authority, his sharp eyes scanning the lobby like he owned every inch of it. "Welcome to the Hamilton Grand, Mr. Volkov," said Mr. Hughes, the hotel manager, his smile too tight to be sincere. "We're honored to have you." Volkov gave a polite nod but spoke only in rapid Russian to his aide. The aide typed frantically on a phone, translating instructions none of the hotel staff could follow. Miss Collins hovered at Hughes' shoulder, pretending calm, though the tremor in her hands betrayed her. "Our translator will be here shortly," she assured him. But as the seconds turned into minutes, her phone buzzed, and her face drained of color. She whispered something to Hughes. He frowned. "What do you mean she's in the hospital?" Collins swallowed. "Car accident. She won't make it." Hughes' composure cracked. "Then call the backup." I did. "One's sick, another refused. No one's available." Volkov's aide stepped closer. "My employer does not like delays," he said in crisp English. "If translation is not ready soon, we leave." Elena had been polishing a brass handrail nearby, trying to stay invisible. But her mind caught every word. She also caught what Volkov muttered to his aide, in perfect Russian. "Americans promise precision, yet bring chaos." Her pulse quickened. She understood him. Every word. Ms. Collins was now frantically dialing numbers, her voice rising higher with each call. "We can't lose this account, do you hear me?" Mr. Hughes mopped his forehead with a handkerchief. "Do something, Collins. Anything." "I'm trying." But nothing worked. Within minutes, Volkov's aide was back. "We go to another hotel. St. Regent has arranged proper translation." Those words landed like a hammer. Staff froze. Miss Collins looked ready to faint. Across the lobby, Elena felt the ache of watching something important slip away. Not because of ignorance, but arrogance. She knew she could help. Her degree in international relations wasn't just a memory. It was muscle memory. Language, diplomacy, nuance. This was her world once. She gripped the cloth in her hands. Her heart raced. Then she took one step forward. "Excuse me," she said softly. Miss Collins spun around, her face twisting. "What are you doing here?" "I can help," Elena said. "I speak Russian." The lobby went silent. For a moment, Collins only blinked, then laughed, sharp and mean. You think this is a game? Go back to your mops." "I'm serious," Elena said quietly. "Let me try." "He's saying he'll leave because he feels disrespected. I can—" "Enough!" Collins snapped, her voice echoing through the marble hall. "Do you have any idea who you're talking about? This is a billionaire investor. You're a cleaner, not a diplomat." Every head turned. Staff froze in place. Even Volkov paused near the elevator, watching the commotion with an unreadable expression. Hughes hissed, "Victoria, keep your voice down." But she didn't. Her stress had turned into venom. "You people never know your place, do you? Always trying to get involved in things you don't understand." The words hit the air like a slap. Guests stopped mid-step. Elena's chest burned, but her voice stayed calm. "Miss Collins, I just want to help." "Help?" Collins barked a bitter laugh. "You think wiping tables gives you the right to handle international business?" Earl, watching from security, shifted uncomfortably. "Victoria," he said lowly, "that's enough." "Stay out of this," she snapped. Volkov was whispering to his aide again. Elena caught every word. They humiliate their own staff in public. How can we trust them to treat us with respect? Something inside her snapped. 3 years of swallowing pride turned to steel. "Ms. Collins," Elena said clearly, "if you'd stop yelling long enough to listen, you'd know I can fix this." Collins blinked. "What did you just say?" "I said I can fix this," Elena repeated, steady as stone. "Because I understand every word he's been saying." "You're lying," Collins spat. "You can't even pronounce his name." Elena turned toward Volkov and spoke in flawless Russian, her voice calm and confident. "Mr. Volkov, I apologize for the confusion." The translator was delayed unexpectedly. The management meant no disrespect. The reaction was instant. Volkov froze mid-step. His aide blinked, stunned. Then Volkov replied in Russian, "You speak beautifully. Where did you learn?" Elena smiled faintly. "From professors who believed understanding people is the foundation of peace." The billionaire laughed softly, a genuine sound this time. Then he turned to his aide and spoke English for the first time all morning. "We stay." The lobby gasped. Mr. Hughes nearly dropped his handkerchief. Miss Collins' mouth fell open, color draining from her face. Elena stood still, cloth still in hand, heart pounding but steady. She hadn't just saved a deal. She had made herself visible, for the first time in years, and the day was only beginning. Volkov's laughter rolled through the lobby like thunder softening into rain. For a moment, everyone seemed frozen in time. Hotel staff, guests, even the security guards by the door. Then, with a quiet wave of his hand, Volkov gestured toward the conference suite. "Let's begin," he said in English, his accent thick but graceful. "Miss." "Elena," she replied gently. "Elena," he repeated, almost testing the sound. "You will translate," Miss Collins sputtered. "Sir, with all due respect, she's not qualified." Volkov's gaze cut to her, cold as ice. "She just proved she is." Mr. Hughes nearly bowed. "Of course, Mr. Volkov. Whatever makes you comfortable." He turned to Elena, voice trembling. "Please, help however you can." Elena nodded, her palms damp but her back straight. She followed them into the grand meeting room, where sunlight poured through tall windows and long crystal glasses gleamed on the table. The city skyline stretched behind them, indifferent and infinite. As she stood behind Volkov, she could smell the faint mix of cedar and expensive tobacco. The air was heavy with tension. The meeting began. Volkov spoke first, his tone measured but firm, discussing logistics, energy exports, and regional policy. Elena translated every word, her voice steady and fluent. Executives leaned forward astonished. She switched between Russian and English like a pianist changing keys, smooth, confident, effortless. When one American investor tried to oversimplify a complex term, she clarified it without hesitation, preserving meaning and respect for both sides. Minutes turned into an hour. Then 2. Volkov's eyes softened as he listened to her, sometimes smiling faintly, sometimes nodding in appreciation. At one point he asked her directly in Russian, "Do you understand what you are doing right now?" She smiled slightly. "Trying to help people understand each other," she answered. He chuckled quietly. "A rare skill." Across the table, Miss Collins sat stiff as marble, forced to watch the woman she had humiliated now control the rhythm of the most important meeting of her career. By noon, the discussion reached its most delicate phase. Final numbers and trust. Volkov leaned back in his chair, eyes narrowing. "I need to know," he said in Russian, "that your company will treat my team as partners, not servants." Elena hesitated before translating. The words were personal, raw. She felt their weight. When she spoke, her tone carried both languages' heartbeats. "Mr. Volkov says he values respect over money. He wants a relationship built on equal ground." The investors exchanged glances. Then Mr. Hughes, his voice shaking, said, He has our word, and mine personally." Elena turned back to Volkov and repeated it in Russian. Volkov's stern face softened. He reached for a pen. "Then we have agreement," he said. Applause broke out. Cameras flashed. Contracts were signed. Elena stood still for a moment, soaking it in. The swirl of suits, the rush of congratulations, the hum of victory. Then Volkov turned to her. "You saved this meeting," he said simply. "What do they pay you here?" Her cheeks flushed. "Enough to get by," he frowned. "Unacceptable. You should not be polishing floors. You should be leading teams." "I'm just grateful to help," she said. He studied her, then smiled. A real, rare smile. Perhaps not for long. He handed her his card, embossed with gold. "If you ever wish to use your talent again, call me. My company needs people who understand more than words." Before she could answer, he rose and left the room, his entourage flowing behind him like a quiet tide. The room buzzed with whispered astonishment. When Elena turned, she found Miss Collins standing by the door, pale and speechless. For the first time, Elena met her eyes. "Sometimes," she said softly, "respect doesn't come from a title." Then she walked past her, leaving the gray uniform silence behind like a shadow shedding light. Outside, Earl waited by the elevator, a grin stretching across his face. "Girl," he said, shaking his head, "you just made history." Elena exhaled, trembling with relief and something new, something like freedom. "Maybe I just found my voice," she said. Earl nodded. About time the world heard it. She smiled, pressing Volkov's card in her palm, the gold edges warm against her skin. The elevator doors slid open, and for the first time in years, Elena stepped in without lowering her head. The city stretched beyond those glass doors, wide, bright, and waiting, and for once, she was ready to meet it. The next morning, the Hamilton Grand was unrecognizable. Reporters clustered outside, cameras flashing like tiny storms. Headlines blared across business networks. "Unexpected hero saves $500 million deal." The story had caught fire overnight, spreading through news feeds, social media, even the morning shows. Elena's name wasn't mentioned yet, but her face was. Someone had filmed the meeting from a hallway reflection. Her standing at the head of the table, translating with grace and quiet power. Inside the staff lounge, the other housekeepers huddled around a TV, their eyes wide. "That's her," one whispered. "That's Elena." Earl grinned. Knew she was something special. When Elena walked in, every conversation stopped. She froze for a second, not sure what to do. Then one of the kitchen cooks started clapping. Slowly, the sound spread, louder, warmer, until the whole room was cheering. Her eyes stung. She'd spent 3 years blending into the background, and now, suddenly, she couldn't hide. Mr. Hughes appeared in the doorway, holding a folded newspaper. "Miss Brooks," he said, smiling for the first time in her memory, "you've brought more honor to this hotel than anyone in its history." He paused, lowering his voice. "Mr. Volkov's company called this morning. They're extending their partnership, and they specifically requested your assistance for future negotiations." Elena blinked, unsure she'd heard right. "My assistance?" "Yes," Hughes said, beaming. "And there's more." He handed her an envelope sealed with the hotel's crest. "Corporate wants to offer you a new position, guest relations manager. Effective immediately, if you accept." Her knees almost gave out. "Sir, You've earned it," he said simply. "Frankly, you've earned much more." Before she could respond, Ms. Collins appeared behind him, her usual sharpness gone. She looked smaller somehow, deflated. "Elena," she said quietly, I owe you an apology. For yesterday. For everything. Elena studied her for a long moment, then nodded. Thank you, she said softly. I hope you meant it. Colin's eyes flickered. Guilt, maybe even shame. I did. And then she walked away, heels clicking slower than usual, echoing down the hall like a retreat. Hughes cleared his throat, smiling again. So, what do you say? Elena looked down at the envelope. Her reflection shimmered faintly in the polished floor. The same floors she'd scrubbed for years, the same uniform she'd worn through tears, exhaustion, and hope. I'll accept, she said finally, her voice firm, but on one condition. Hughes raised an eyebrow. And that is? I want to start a program here. Language and leadership training for hotel staff. Everyone deserves the chance to grow, no matter their title. He stared for a moment, then broke into a wide smile. You've got yourself a deal. By noon, she was out of the gray uniform. The new one felt strange. Navy blue, fitted, with a gold name tag that read Elena Brooks, Guest Relations Manager. When she walked through the lobby, guests actually looked at her. Not past her. She smiled at them, calm and confident. Later that afternoon, as she finished setting up the next investor luncheon, Earl passed by, hands in his pockets. Well, look at you, he said, grinning. Boss lady now. She laughed. Feels strange. Nah, he said. Feels right. They stood together by the window, watching the city hum below. Taxis gliding, people hurrying, life unfolding. Funny, she murmured. Yesterday, I was invisible. Today, people keep asking where I learned to speak Russian. Earl chuckled. You tell 'em you learned it from life. That'll confuse 'em good. Elena laughed, the sound light and unguarded. Then her phone buzzed. A text. Unknown number. She opened it. Miss Brooks, this is Anton Volkov. My company will be hosting an international conference in Geneva next month. We'd like you to lead communications. I trust you're available? She read it twice, heart pounding. For a moment, she just stared out at the skyline, sunlight brushing her face like a promise. Earl, she whispered, smiling, looks like I'm going to Switzerland. He let out a low whistle. Girl, I told you your story wasn't finished. She laughed again, eyes shining. No, she said softly. It's just getting started. And as she turned back toward the lobby, her lobby now, Elena Brooks felt something deep and new inside her. Peace, pride, and the quiet power of finally being seen. 3 weeks later, the air in Geneva was crisp and bright, the kind of cool that carried the scent of pine and clean mountain wind. Elena stood on the balcony of her hotel suite, watching the lake shimmer like glass under the morning sun. Below, banners flapped in the breeze. Volkov Energy International Forum. She still couldn't quite believe it. In the span of a month, she'd gone from cleaning hotel rooms in Chicago to coordinating delegates from 6 countries. Her name was on every event badge. Her headset buzzed with voices from around the world. And people, important people, listened when she spoke. The first day of the conference, Volkov greeted her with a warm handshake. You kept your promise, he said. So did you, she replied, smiling. He nodded. I told my partners in Moscow about you. They call you the voice of understanding. Elena laughed softly. That's quite a name. It suits you, Volkov said, then turned to greet a line of arriving diplomats. Later that afternoon, as she walked through the grand hall arranging microphones and translation booths, she thought of her mother back home, how proud she'd sounded on the phone, her voice trembling with joy. You see, baby, her mother had said, the world finally caught up to who you've always been. The words echoed in Elena's mind like a heartbeat. When the conference began, she stood at the front beside Volkov, interpreting speeches. mediating conversations, bridging worlds. Her voice filled the room, clear, steady, confident. Every so often, she'd catch someone looking at her with surprise, as if wondering how a young black woman from Chicago could command a room full of power brokers from 3 continents. But she didn't shrink from it anymore. She met their eyes, smiled, and spoke as though she'd always belonged there. Because, in truth, she did. After the final session ended, the applause was long and thunderous. Cameras flashed again, but this time she didn't feel like a background blur. She was in focus. As the crowd thinned, Volkov approached her one last time. "You've changed this company," he said simply. "And maybe, in a small way, the world." Elena smiled. "I just did what I could," he chuckled. "That's how all great things start." When he left, she wandered outside onto the terrace. The evening light stretched across the lake, painting it gold and rose. The city hummed gently below, full of laughter and faraway music. She leaned on the railing and closed her eyes. She thought of her first day at the Hamilton Grand, the sting of humiliation, the sharp voice telling her to stay out of sight. She thought of Earl's quiet faith, her mother's unwavering love, and the moment she'd finally chosen to speak up. Everything had changed. Because of that one choice, the choice to stop hiding, the choice to believe her own voice mattered. As the last light faded over the mountains, Elena whispered to herself, "No one can take this from me." A soft wind lifted her hair, as if the world itself was answering back. She smiled, breathing in the moment, proud, steady, and free. Behind her, the doors to the ballroom opened, and someone called her name. She turned, her face illuminated by the golden light spilling from inside. "Coming," she said with a small laugh. And as she stepped back into the hall, her heels clicking confidently against the marble floor, it was clear the woman who once cleaned the world's tables now had a seat at them. Her story wasn't about luck or fate. It was about courage, about dignity, about being seen, and from that day forward, wherever she went, people remembered her not as the woman in the gray uniform, but as Elena Brooks, the voice that changed everything.